Well, hello and welcome, everyone. I'm here with Amelia McHenry today. Hi, Amelia. Hey.
Hey.
I am so excited. Amelia is like one of the very few course participants I've actually met in person and gotten to hug. So, like, that's a special thing for me. And I'm excited. She's had a lot of success since she joined the Blueprint last year. And we really wanted to just kind of share some of her story and some of the amazing things that have happened in her career to both inspire you and give you some practical strategies that you can use to achieve those results yourself. So, Amelia, maybe just take us back to, it was like January last year, right? A little less than a year and a half ago when you were thinking about joining the Blueprint. Like, where were you at your career at that time? What was your role like? What was going on? Yeah.
So I have been a technical writer for about 15 plus years.
Hmm.
Had gone in the last 10 years of that, gone through a bunch of mergers and acquisitions of companies and and splits and all kinds of weird, funky business stuff. Um, and the last one was a split from the company that merged with another company. And about 9 months after that, I got WFR'd from a job. And it was a job that my boss did not want me to go, but the company said she makes too much money because I was at the top of the pay scale for technical writers, and being a new business, they wanted to cut salaries and bottom line type of things that businesses do. And so I was like, what am I going to do? I had this great job with making some decent money, and they're not going to want to pay me that anymore because it's the top of the scale, right? And so my boss told me that I could get into business analysis. And I was like, really? I could do that? And she's like, yeah. So she started telling me a little bit about what it was that I did that would constitute as business analysis. And so I started looking at that and looking at jobs to maybe do that, and she helped me revamp my resume to show that. So I got a job as a contract business analyst, and but it wasn't, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I wasn't confident. I wasn't all this. So I started looking online and I found you,
Hmm.
and was like, oh, I need this. And so made the jump of getting the blueprint, right? That's the blueprint,
Yeah.
which is all the classes, and and learned so much, and it was invaluable, just absolutely invaluable. And it has helped me jump from there, into being really confident in what I'm doing, and you know having the community there to assist when I have questions. And yeah, it's just, so that's where I was just this total, I was a tech writer. I was at the top of my financial game, and now I had nothing and was like, what am I
But you
doing
were
now?
and you were in this contract business analyst role though, right? But it
Yeah, when
wasn't
when
like
I
I kind of
found
remember
you,
you were, but it didn't quite feel like a business analyst role.
yeah,
Like,
it was, I mean, it was doing requirements, but it was like these, yeah, it was weird because when I was doing the classes, I there was like this one project that I was like, oh, I can do this for the process stuff, and then the project got put on hold, and it's like, and I didn't have anything else that I could do that with. It was like, so I had to go outside of my business analyst role to find projects to work on for the homework, which
mhm.
helped my husband out because he had stuff that he needed to do, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful. Like you can have the title, but still have this constraint in your work experience that you couldn't actually use the skills in your job. So that must have felt very like, okay, I finally got this title after this pretty like scary experience of losing my job, but now I'm
right.
not quite sure what I should be doing, and I'm not even allowed to do the things that people are telling me should be be business analysis, right? Like, where is this going to go? What does this look like in 3 to 5 years? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's been, it was kind of crazy, you know. It was,
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
So
So,
you took the plunge through all of that, and you joined the Blueprint. What were your expectations going in?
just to learn, right? I just wanted to know what business analysis was, because I've heard the term, I've worked with the people, but I didn't understand what it was. What was the job, you know? And, you know, I just had no clue. And I didn't want to be a fraud in saying, you know, it's like I put this on my resume that, hey, I've done this. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but my boss said I did it. So I guess I'm going to say I did it, you know, because she said I did it, you know. So it's really, you know, the expectations were about learning what the job was, what's the terminology, what's the experience, which is really great that this class gives, is that you get practical experience that you can speak to in an interview. You can say, yes, I've done process. Yes, I've done wireframes. Yes, I've done data mappings. Yes, I've done these things, right? And I have a clue. It may be this big, but I've got a clue, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, learning the terminology, feeling legit, right? I felt legit afterwards. So,
Awesome. And so, I mean, let's talk about this, because you've kind of alluded to helping your husband, right? And how, because this is a challenge that, you know, we do have that part of the real world experience where there's tons of benefits that comes from it. But when you feel like you can't do it in your job, or you don't have a job, right? Like, people are like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I finish the course? So I would love to hear how it came up, even that you found out that your husband could use this and created that role, right? It was a really unique, innovative way to create a success.
So I was looking around my job and just going, you know, I thought I had this one project that I could do this with. It was going to be great, and I was excited about it, and then it got put on hold. And so basically, I just kind of came home to my husband and said, I need to find something that I can do process work on. Do you have any processes that you need to be checked out and worked on? And he was like, actually, yes, I do. You know, I'm doing a disaster recovery revamp, you know, because he's the infrastructure director at the company, at a healthcare company that he's in. And they were looking at their disaster recovery process. And I was like, perfect, let's do that. You know, and normally, you know, he and I kind of bonk heads when we're trying to work on work stuff, you know, but it actually worked out really, really well, because it was like, okay, I'm in this role now. I'm not your wife. I'm in this role, and I'm going to ask you all the questions, right? And, you know, what's the process? Who does what? When do they do this? And what if that doesn't happen? And if this happens, and, you know, going through all the happy path and then all the funky things that could happen. And it worked out really well. And he shared that with his boss, and his boss was like, oh my God, this is great, you know, and fabulous. And yeah, let's get that in the documentation. And, you know, so you know, and we had meetings with them as well, you know, so I got to talk with his other people, and they were like, thank you so much for coming in. What do we owe you? And I'm like, this is fine. I just want the experience, you know. And then it was what was the next one was the wireframing was the next one. I'm like, so this is my next project. You got anything else? And they were like, yeah, we've got the marketing crew setting up our website and revamping that. So here, work with them. And I'm like, awesome. You know, so I got the first two of the sections of this course. I got to work with them. They got improved things. I got to learn. They knew I was learning, so it wasn't like, oh, why don't you know this? We're paying you for this, rah, rah, right? So it was this really great relationship that we had. And then the other thing was that my husband is also a musician, and putting out albums just kind of as a hobby. So for the data mapping and getting, all that big data stuff together, I used his and my youngest daughter's albums as, customers who are buying the customers who are, how do we want their address? Do we want their, how does that match up to PayPal and, getting all that data mapped out. So that was just an internal hobby that we used to do this data mapping work. And man, talk about a rabbit hole. That was, that was
you think, oh, this is so simple. We're just shipping out some CDs, right?
No, that was such a serious rabbit hole, but it brought a lot of clarity to what we're doing. And even though it's a hobby, he's trying to get some money out of it. It's a little money side gig thing, not much, mostly spending out, but, but it's fun. And it was great experience for my daughter because that's the business she wants to go into. She's going into the music business. So it's like learning, oh, you got to capture this. You got to talk to these people. You got to capture your email stuff. You got to capture your, your vendor stuff, your, what you're sending out and, all these things that just and it makes it make sense. So that's where I found my projects, and like I said, just a little hobby thing at the home. You can do that, right? It's business experience. So
yeah, and that must have been, after kind of that feeling of being in the role but uncertain, like that must have been incredibly validating, right? Like to do it, and you had 3 very different experiences where you were able to apply these skills. So you had lots of things to talk about and to really like appreciate the depth of it.
Right. Yeah. And then when that contract was over, I got another contract, which was a little more in line with the business analysis. And I was, because of taking the class and going through those things, I was really able to just kind of jump right in and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Oh, you want to do process work. Okay, here we go. What is this? What is that? What is it? All those questions that you ask. And then there was one, I don't know how many people catch this, but you have some questions in one of your videos that talk about getting to know I just lost the word, getting to know the domain, right? How do you get to know the domain? How do you get to know what the project's about? And I wrote them down. I played the video, wrote it down, stopped it. I captured all those questions.
Create a checklist for that.
They are fabulous. They are fabulous. And so I kind of wrote them in toward the project that I was into on my next job. And I put that out to them. I said, so what are your answers to these? And they were like, oh my God, these are great questions. And this is a Fortune 500 company that has their act together, right? When it comes to this stuff. And I brought in these questions and they were like blown away. And my estimation, my experience in their estimation jumped 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, because I just had these simple questions that you asked, like ask them about this. What's the project? What's the financial gain? What's the measurements you're going to have? What's this, and thinking about all these things that they think about in the back of their mind, but they don't settle in. And that blew their mind. And they were like, oh my God, we are so much clearer on what this project is that thank you for that. Just those questions alone helped them define their project and get it clear in their minds what was going on. So,
and I really think as BAs, like questions are our superpower, right? And asking the right questions at the right time. So yes, you had the questions from the course, but you also asked them in the right context, right? To the right people at the right time. It sounded with the right framing. So you created this. I loved how you talked about that jump. Like I was going to say this perception of a jump, but it really wasn't that. I think it was perception in your head, but you really were in that space. Like you were adding value at that level.
Yeah. And they I still talked to a couple of the people from that contract as well, and they were like, man, I wish we could have hired you on, but it was just a contract thing for this one little project. But they love, I'm on Facebook with them now, and they love me, and they're like, how's your job doing? We want to get you back here. I'm like, yeah, well, I got a job now.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so my contract ended, and so I was looking for another job, and I had two interviews with two different companies. One was going back into a more senior technical writer role, kind of managerial type of thing, and it's something that I could have gone back into and done with no problem. It's like, I know that job like the back of my hand. I can do that. And then there was this other job. They weren't paying as much as the technical writer one, but it was the one that I was like, oh, it's a business analyst role. And this would really stretch my learning because it's a completely different industry than what I was in. I was in healthcare. I know healthcare like the back of my hand. I can do that in my sleep. This is an auto insurance industry. So different. You're still dealing with federal stuff, but it's so different. And I was like, I kind of want to be a role, but the money over here at the tech writer thing is so much better. And I was kind of hemming and hawing about it. And they were actually creating a position over at the other side for me, because once they found out my experience and they wanted me to do a center of excellence for technical writers, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. But I was stringing along the guys who were offering me the job because this one was really cool too, and it was more money. And when they found out that it was more money, the BA job went to their human resources and said, we want her. She's being offered $90,000 over at this other place. Let's bump it up. So they bumped up their offer by $10,000.
Wow.
And a jump in position. So it was just a business analyst. They gave me the lead business analyst for the $90,000. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can't string these guys along anymore. And these guys, I'm still waiting on to hear if that's even going to happen. So I'm going to go with the eggs in the basket and go with this. And it's been really, really good. It has definitely stretched my abilities. I've gotten into, doing gap analysis and just learning this new industry and, using those questions again. What is this all about? What's the metrics? What's the big picture of why we're doing what we're doing? And I've been really learning a whole lot about that. And there have been a couple of days that I've been like, oh my God, what did I get myself? I can't do this. And then I just breathe and I go back and I read my notes from the course, or I call and go into the Facebook and I'm like, okay, oh, yeah, okay, and back into the stride of things, so it's been really good in stretching what it is that I'm capable of, concreting the training that I've gotten, exploring other avenues within that training. It's like, oh, well, how about this over here? Like gap analysis is something that is new, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that I would love to take a course on.
Yeah. All right, I'll get on
that. Because that's a different way of thinking as well, right? But it's opened me up to a lot of new things and solidified the training that I do have, and they've been really, really happy with me so far. I jokingly went in onto one of my one-on-ones. I'm like, so are you going to fire me yet? And they're like, no way, you're great. Bring it on. Keep doing it. But it's kind of interesting because one of the questions in the interview was, are you afraid to ask the stupid questions? And I went, no, not at all. That's kind of my job. And my boss was like, fabulous. That was the right answer. Yeah, I'm going to ask the stupid questions, right? And
And I do,
so,
can we talk a little bit more about whether it's like the interview or like the how that came to be? Because obviously, like they were super excited to hire you, right?
yeah,
And like they want, like you were in a position of strength in that negotiation, which is where we all want to
absolutely.
be as job seekers, right? So what, can you just kind of walk us through how that, what do you think created that, like that point of leverage for you? Like what
Um,
was it that they were looking for and how were you able to position yourself and your skills?
I think some of it was personality. I tend to be
Hmm.
kind of gregarious and bubbly and unashamedly me. So I think that's part of it. But I think the other part was that I could speak to what they were looking for, right? That
Hmm.
I could use the terms, when they asked me about what tools I've used, and I mentioned balsamic, and the guy's eyes just got bright and wide, and he's like, "You had me at balsamic," right?
Yeah, and
That's
that's
just
like, how did you know? You don't, it's not like you knew that going in, right? There was a
no, I
certain
had
amount of
no
how things kind
idea.
of fell into place. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't have a
yeah.
clue about that, and being able to talk about creating the processes, the documents, or
Hmm.
finding refining those with both my husband's work, with the job afterwards, and being able to speak to the things that I worked on
Hmm.
um, through the training and through subsequent positions. Um, and I was able to speak to it with confidence. It wasn't like I was like, well, yeah, I kind of worked on this project, and it was, yeah, I worked on this project, and we had this problem, and we did this, and this was the solution, and blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And I think one of the biggest questions that assisted in that them really wanting me was he he brought up a meeting that he had, and he said one person, a key stakeholder, was um, getting defensive, or very adamant in that he wanted something a certain way. It had to be this certain way, and come to find out, the guy was cursing out people. He was yelling. He's like, "No, we're doing it this way, right, right." But he was very diplomatic in the interview. But he's like, "So, what would you do with a person like that?" And I sat and I thought back to your trainings, and it was like, it's not about the how, it's about the why, right? Why does he want that thing? What is it that he thinks he's going to get out of that how, that the technical people are going, there's no freaking way you're getting it, right? And that's where the consternation was. And so it was like, well, what is it that he's trying to get to, right? Trying to figure out what it is he's trying to get, and maybe there's a different way to get there that the technology people can do,
Hmm.
right? So it's not, he was trying to get a particular API, and the technology guys were like, that's not going to work. That just doesn't fit in this API framework or whatever, right? It's like, well, what does he think he's going to get out of that? So it'd be asking him those questions. What is the end game,
Hmm.
right? And can we find a different bridge to get there? And I think that was another question that he really just went, yep, that's the person. Because it's not about the how. The how can happen
Yeah.
anyway. It can be, if you want to build a bridge, you can build it out of steel, you can build it out of wood, you can build it out of stone. How big does it need to be? What is it's so it's not that it has to be this stone bridge. It's just that it needs to be a bridge.
Hmm.
What have we got right now? We've got wood. We don't have stone. So we can build it out of stone, but it's got to be a stone bridge. No, it doesn't. It just needs to be a bridge. So, I think
Yeah.
that was another huge question that he just was like, oh yeah, you know. Um,
And what, just to reflect back to you, I feel like what you were representing there's a few things that people miss. One is that you took a moment, like you said, I took a moment to think about it, right? And I
Yeah,
think sometimes in interviews, people think, I've got to have this answer like right away. And so they just say the first thing that comes to their head. And like, it's okay to stop and think.
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
and you're a big gregarious person, but it's still okay to stop
Yeah,
and think, right? Like,
yeah, it's
and
okay to just
like,
go,
you need a minute, like, and it's okay in a meeting too to do that. Like, I think
right,
we put so much pressure on ourselves just to be like in this go go go,
right.
and some of our best value is in that just stopping and thinking and giving yourself
Yeah,
space to find the answer. And that's the second thing I just want to reflect back to you, which is so beautiful, is like you have internalized, like you keep referring to the training, which is awesome. I love that it's had that impact, but like you have internalized that into a mindset of being a VA, which like has allowed you to connect those dots. And I think that's because you've applied it a few different times and found new
right.
ways to apply it, right? So it's just become part of your way of thinking,
Yeah,
and that will serve you for a long time.
yes,
Yeah.
it will. And thank you very much. Because it,
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to when I lost my job being workforce reduction, and going, I don't know, really, I can do that, right? To this, yeah, I can do that, right? I mean, it's such a huge transformation of confidence
Hmm.
that, um, yeah, I, I really do owe it all to you and your training. I mean, I would not be here today if I didn't have that.
Hmm.
Um, it's you not only taught me the skills, but within that gave me the confidence that I could do it, right? Because I was able to do it in the class and it came back with, great comments or here, tweak this a little bit, that's the other thing, the coaches are great. You got great coaches. And I was really glad to be able to meet, one of the
Paula.
coaches, Paula. Yeah, I was really
Yeah.
glad to meet her. That was really fun to meet her. So, but yeah, the coaches are fabulous and gave great feedback. And when I got stuck, especially in the data mapping, that was the one that I got stuck with the most. I was like, what? Wrapping, just not. I'm analytical, but not that analytical. So their feedback during that process was really invaluable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they are. And their heart is in it. Like their instructors are amazing. They want
yeah,
your
you can tell.
success. Yeah.
You can totally tell.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. It's always good to share the love with them too. I get to do these interviews. I hope that they watch them because they get to hear that they can hear about all the awesome things that they're helping create in the world as well.
oh yeah, and they do a great job of it too.
Yeah.
They're on it. They're really good feedback, really good suggestions to improve, and really good cheerleaders on, hey, you did this really great, and really good cheerleaders on, you can make this even better, right?
Yeah.
So it felt good getting their feedback. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So I know you had some concerns about finishing, right? And I think this is something that holds a lot of people back. Like what helped you have a breakthrough on that?
that's a good question. Yeah, I have a tendency to start things and then not finish them. And I think that just comes from um, fear of success. I actually have a really big, huge fear of success. Like,
Hmm.
my life will be so different when I'm successful that it's scary, right? It won't look like what I'm comfortable with. And and yeah, how did I get over that with this class? Because this is one of the classes that I've actually finished, that I've gotten over that. And uh, ah, where would I be today? Yeah, how did I finish that? I think I cried a lot. And I honestly don't remember what I was going through at that time.
And you persisted.
Yeah, it was just one of those, one foot in front of the other. It was just a determination of, I spent the money, I better finish it.
There's a huge value in spending the money.
Yeah, spending the money, I better finish this. And I mean, I'm so close, and that last, it was the data mapping that was so hard. That was so hard, and so, if that had been the first, I probably wouldn't have finished because it was like, not too much. But yeah, I think it was just, this was something that I had a feeling was really going to help me in my financial situation, in my skill sets, and just get it done. Just, and I don't know how good my last assignment was that I turned in, but I turned it in.
And you passed. You're
and
here.
I passed, yeah, and I'm here, and I got the certificate, and and it was like, which I guess is a message of, don't worry about perfection, just get it done, right? Because those coaches are great, and they will feedback, and they will give you, and hey, try this, and what did question about this, and did you really mean this, or did you mean that? And that assistance of getting through helped me just like, okay, I'm just going to turn it. It's a mess. I know it's ugly. And then getting the feedback like, no, it's actually really good. It's kind of on point. And it was like, oh, really? I did good. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And so just like to congratulate you for that success too, and that it's achieved the things that you were looking for it to achieve. So, but it really started with you pushing through that resistance, for sure. The resistance happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of my fear of success is that I'll lose everything, right? Because I'm successful, everything else will go away because I'm in this little box. Yeah, no, that little box just got bigger. Everything's still in it. It's all still good. It just got bigger, which is something I need to remember. It's like, when I get up to that wall of success again, oh, I'm going to make it, I better not do it. It's like, no, the box just gets bigger. Everything's still in the box. It just gets bigger. There's more room for it. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So is there any, thank you so much for all of this. It's just been it's been beautiful to hear your story full out. But before we close, is there any last tips that you would like to share with somebody following in your footsteps?
Take the course. So take the course because there's so much valuable information in it. Do the work. Ask the stupid questions. Take that calculated risk. Right. This is a calculated risk. You're training, jumping into the BA role, even if you don't take the course, right? Jumping into it and asking the stupid questions and taking that calculated risk is going to be invaluable. Joining a group like Bridging the Gap on Facebook, right? It doesn't have to be that one, but this is a great group. But joining a group of like-minded people that are striving for the same things, are that they have your back and that you're going to support your growth. Join that. Take that risk. It's worth it. It will improve you dramatically. Yeah. I'm living proof, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited to hear about everything that's happening and even seeing like the BA you're going to be 3-5 years from now, and how awesome and what everything that comes from here. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
I'm
for
excited.
Sharing. Yay.
Thank you. Right. Happy to share. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amelia.
You're welcome.